Hey everybody, Norm over here. We got a new segment of Ask Norm. We had you guys write in some great questions. Always great to hear from you guys. And we've got some celebrity friends of ours. And right now we've got the McCallum brothers. We got Val, we got Paul, and we got our great friend here, Jason Sinay. And these guys are some of the best guitar players in town and always love having them in. And Jason plays with Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs, the best band other than Jack Shit, which is the other best band in town. And he also has his band Ape too. And Val also plays with Jackson Brown and who else? Who else are you playing with these
Jack
guys?
Shit.
Jack Shit.
Anybody
Absolutely.
with Jack in their name.
Right. And then we got Paul over here, who this is the best brother guitar duo I know of, other than the Everly Brothers, except these guys play much better than they do, but they had some great songs, the Everly Brothers, so we love them.
Had a couple.
So, and they're all guitar aficionado kind of guys, you know, they love vintage guitars and all kinds of guitars. So, and then we've got Nick over here, who's my right-hand man, who's the question asker, and we got Mark over here. So we're just going to fire away a few questions, and everybody can just kind of chime in, and let's do it. Nick?
All right. Well, this one's might be for the whole panel, but might mainly be for Norm. Dylan Pereira 2828 asks, why is a 1959 Gretsch White Falcon so valuable?
Well, it's good that we have this young man over here, because you have a 58 that you got
do.
from me, right? And
do.
why is it so valuable, and why is it so cool?
Well, I mean, it's so valuable and so cool because I have one. It's the
Well,
first
that
thing.
First thing.
In my opinion, this is one of the most unique sounding instruments ever. I think it's a very big guitar, bold guitar, incredible pickups, and it's very ornate. And Gretsch put a lot
They
of
look
work.
fantastic.
They look
I mean,
incredible. They're so beautiful, and they put a lot of work, a lot of workmanship went into that guitar, into crafting that particular guitar.
Yeah.
And I just think there's not that many of them out there, and they're not all equal.
Is that
And
Filtertrons or?
the Filtertrons.
Now, they made some of the early ones that
PAF
had the,
Filtertrons.
they
First
had
year,
some
I
of the
believe,
earliest
yeah.
ones were
Yeah.
the Armands,
The
and then
Armands,
they went
yeah.
to the Filtertrons,
They were clunky
and they were all
sounding.
cool. You know, it's
Yeah.
just one's
Flat
a little
wounds,
different.
Jason, or?
No, I got round wounds on it.
But those 58s, 59s always remind me of like a big old Cadillac, you know.
It's always
big,
what I said.
brassy- Yeah.
It's like playing a big Cadillac.
Yeah.
And
Stephen Stills.
bingo, before I could say it, Stephen Stills, like so many of those incredible records, those early records, Buffalo Springfield,
Right.
Yeah.
all that, he played that guitar.
It's like the quintessential rockabilly guitar. Plus, it's white with gold sparkle binding. You know, I mean, it's
Curb
pretty
appeal.
cool to look at. You know, to say the least. Not to mention that they sound fabulous too.
Yeah.
And they made very few of them in the '50s, so there's not a lot of those
Never
guitars.
had one of those.
Now, Paul, I know you like to play a lot of hollow bodies.
I do,
He's
yeah.
plays a lot of jazz and all that. Have you played any of the early White Falcons ever?
I've never played one. No,
You can say it. He hates Gretches.
Not a
I'm
Gretsch guy.
kind of
huh?
a Gibson arch top.
Okay.
Sort of
You
guy.
like the Beatles, right?
I've tried to sell him Gretches,
Yeah.
and he never.
All
He
right.
won't bite.
No.
I get first dibs on anything that he's selling.
Bring him a
so,
175, he's all over it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm lusting after one of his 175s.
Yeah,
We're
not
still
gonna happen.
negotiating.
Keep dreaming.
Keeping that one.
Just to torment your brother. That's probably a lot of
Buy
fun
them
over
just
there.
That
to go,
works.
You can look, but you can't touch. Yeah.
So what else we got?
Cool. All right. This is something Val might be able to answer this one. 123-Go wants to know, what year and model is the SG Custom that is all white with a gold Maestro vibrato and a full white pickguard? It says, I
Full
know,
white pickguard.
I know
Oh,
Pat
full white
Smear plays
pickguard.
one, but I don't know much about it.
Pat Smear has a strange name.
Yes.
123, that's a good question that I might be able to help with because I just acquired one from
A
Norm.
gorgeous one.
And it's fantastic, and you gave me a great deal on it. And it's got 3 PAF pickups in it, and came originally with like no frets. So it's
Yeah,
like
they're called the
Wonder.
Fretless Wonder.
Yeah,
That
so
was
it's a
part of the
pain in
deal.
the ass to play, which I think is good because then I won't try to play anything fancy. because it's never good when I try to be fancy. So I think that's a
You do
plus.
pretty good fancy, I've heard you play some fancy stuff.
But when you play a guitar with no frets, you just have to be.
Well, back in the day, guys were using flat wounds on those things, and they weren't really meant, for all the bending
Full
and
step
stuff.
blues, bends, and solos. But if he's talking full pick guard SGs,
That's probably
Yours is a
the end of
small-
Oh, right, right.
65,
So mine's
65 and
69 or so.
So what Hendrix used the
Yeah.
the big guard one as well, the
No,
big guard
yeah.
SG. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
And those didn't have, like your early one has the rings around the pickups. The ones with the big guards didn't have
Didn't have
the
the
rings.
rings, yeah.
Right.
So
They just went straight in the pick guard, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an awesome picture of Hendrix playing the white SG.
Was that Dick Cavett show or was that?
Yeah, I think that was.
I think it
He
was.
used that on Dick Cavett, yeah.
And he was wearing that blue, so
Yeah.
I like Jimmy.
Yeah. All right, next up, Hyle Colcom wants to know, what is your opinion, everybody, on department store guitars from the 50s and 60s, like Kay, Silvertone, Harmony, and how useful are they once, restored and maintained?
Well, the man that Val plays with a lot, Jackson Brown, that's kind of his thing. He loves a lot of those odd guitars because they don't sound like everything else. You've got some of that stuff too, don't you, Jack?
I do. I have a couple. I don't really play them that often, but they sound very, very unique, and I love those. The older I get and the older they get, I seem to appreciate them more.
I've got a couple that I use a lot. I've got a Silvertone that has a built-in amp in the case.
Right.
One.
I love that.
And that, for like single note sort of spy guitar, you can, and with the case, I use the case. I actually use that a lot. And I also have a Silvertone acoustic guitar that I bought for $100 that sounds really good, for if you want to send it to be kind of sad and old sounding. It's kind of hard to
A
do.
lot of them are tough to play, but they have a unique voice.
Yeah.
right?
I mean, the hottest pickup probably right now that people are looking for is the gold
Gold
foil
leaf.
Oh,
pickups,
yeah.
which you find in a lot of those guitars, and those have
They don't
become really
sound very
hot.
good. I don't recommend buying those.
Yeah. Save those.
Because you want them,
Really?
right? Yeah.
Really? No, that's a good secret
Wasn't
there.
that, didn't a lot of
That's
people,
a curveball if I ever heard of
didn't a
them.
lot
Yeah, I
of
don't-
people grab those to make like Ry Cooter type?
Cooter casters.
Cooter casters, yeah.
That's right.
Actually,
Which I
have one
believe
with
you've
two.
got a couple. Yeah.
I've got a Strat with 2 gold foils, and it has become like a go-to guitar.
Really?
Oh, it's
That
amazing.
good, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first guitar was a St. George. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
still around.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
Was that a catalog guitar as well?
It had like 8 pickups and 10 knobs. And I went with my mom to Sears or something.
No, no, you got it at Thrifty in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, and I just saw the knobs and all, and I was like,
How
He
awesome.
got the St. George, and I got the little Tyska with 1 pickup. And I was happy, but I was jealous.
He's got more knobs.
And you got a fuzz pedals. He got a little
It's good that the folks believed in you enough to really step it up and get those wonderful instruments.
Yeah, they were right next to the plastic, the bouncing ball container. Right? The Thrifty one.
The rubber paddle thing.
I was happy though.
But these guys really progressed, I'll tell you. That is, they can really,
That just
really
goes to show it
play.
doesn't matter where you start on,
You've
it matters
known
where you
us a
finish
very
up.
long time.
I have
so-
known you a very long time. I don't think I even had any gray hair when I first met you.
Well,
so.
I think
Well,
maybe
you
a
didn't?
little- You look even better today, so you've taken good care of yourself.
It's that plastic surgery that I've done. What a great surgery.
All right, let's not go down that road.
Yeah, all right,
now.
yeah.
It's only a short segment. All right, Willie T. Nisbet wants to know, in your opinion, what's the best year and model of Stratocaster? This is going to be a
Well,
long
that's
question for
personal opinion.
everybody. Yeah.
Well, I
This
have a
guy.
very strong opinion on that, but I have a lot of Strats. I love Strats. This is just my personal opinion. I love 67 Strats, and I like them particularly because I have one that is like my main guitar. I love the way the neck tapers. There's something about
It's like the rarest year.
It's very rare.
Stratocaster you can probably.
it really is. I have 2 of them. One of them is okay, it's pretty good, but the other one is unbelievable.
The other one's the one Mike always
That's
wants you
also
to
a
play.
Yeah.
year,
Dirty
that's
knobs.
also a year that they made very few of. For some reason, you don't see as many 67 Strats.
I look for 'em
see
all
a
the
lot of
time.
66, 68, and 67. For whatever reason, you don't see
They're
as many.
rare. Other than that, I really love like 63s and 64s a lot.
What about Maples?
I'm not a
Not a maple
huge maple like the
So I'm a
late
57
50s.
guy.
Yeah, 57.
57s are,
You know,
I like a 57 hardtail.
my
but
bandmate-
I've got one I bought from him 30 years ago that still is my favorite thing.
57 Strat,
Yeah.
two-tone sunburst. I like that look.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my bandmate in jack shit, Pete Thomas, has a 57. He's a drummer, so well, he has a guitar. I don't know. But it's the nicest Strat
incredible.
I've ever played.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
And actually, I haven't plugged it in, but it just acoustically and when you pick and aesthetically and
They're
I mean,
loud and they're kind of sexy. The contours, for some reason that year, were just really elegant looking and
Yeah.
you know, nice weight.
A lot of the 57s have that V-shaped neck, and then
Yeah, it's
the
got that.
earliest ones, 54s, have a kind of a big round neck, and then they went to the V-shaped neck, and then they went in the later 50s to the thinner, flatter neck, and then they went to the rosewood neck. First ones
Yeah.
were the slab boards, and they went to the.
I have one of those I love. It's
Yeah.
60 slab
But
board.
don't you agree that it can be any year if it's got the thing?
The thing.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
it.
buy it.
You know what's kind
Right.
of, you know what's kind of strange? I've never been a big fan of like the late 70s Strats, but for certain music,
Yeah.
that's the sound, man. I mean, Nile Rodgers and
Nile
all that
Rodgers,
kind of
yeah.
stuff, you know, that rhythm sound,
It's
all those
incredible.
R&B tunes from that point. They, you know, they weigh a ton. Not my favorite to play, but
Tons of
for
lacquer on
certain music,
Yeah.
they sound
Poly, double
unbelievable.
poly on them, yeah.
Yeah, tons of that might be why the
of
sound
the
is. You
sound
get
of
that
it,
clicky kind of. But man, you put that on
And
a
those-
track
but
if you're
those
doing a
tuners,
dance record and you're
Those 70s tuners.
Those 70s too.
yeah, the plastic one.
Well, the three-bolt
Plastic
neck,
tube.
I mean, they kind of went to a lot of whacked out stuff,
Yeah.
but they worked for certain things. So, I mean, if you ask different people, everybody's going to tell you something else, whatever they're at home with, really, you know. So, you know, it's everybody's got their own voice, and certain guitars just bring that out.
Yeah.
Very true.
Cool. All right. So Dr. Gonzo 567 wants to know, what's the worst vintage guitar you've ever played?
I got the answer to
That's
that.
the best question.
One that's not set up properly.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you know, you could take the best guitar, and if it's set up terribly, it's not going to play, and it's not going to sound right. Strings have to be at the optimal height, and the pickups have to be at the optimal height, and then you can really see what a guitar can do. But if it's all out of whack,
You know what can make them really crappy, a vintage guitar, is one that stinks.
Yeah, one that
That
smells bad.
smells of
mildew stuff.
cigarettes and,
Yeah.
you know.
Or some of those old Fender
I
ones.
always
it's
ask
kind of
that
The
if I
glue
buy-
smells of pee. Yeah.
If I buy a guitar online, that's the first question. Any funky
Does it
smell?
smell?
Yeah. Big
Wow.
one for me.
I guess that's a
Because my
big.
wife
get
has
used to that
amazing
after a
sense.
while.
I bought a Epiphone Sheridan, or whatever the top of the line 330, 355 type one, and I sold it to Scott Thurston, and which was one of the guitars that was stolen. A beautiful
Yeah,
one,
the
it's a real
pennies,
pretty
yeah.
sunburst. I love the guitar, but it smelled. And Shelley, my wife, could smell it from like a block away. I mean, she could, just like she knew.
Really?
You know, I was like, yeah, but the case is, you know, in the closet.
You know, some of that too is the glue that they used for the interior of the cases.
Cases.
Sometimes that, you know, I sold a friend of mine a beautiful blonde 175 one time, and the case stunk, and it made the guitar stink, and he
Can you
aired
get
it
the
out
smell
and all
out?
kinds of stuff. He got most of it out, you know, but with baking soda and all kinds of stuff.
Mm.
So, you know, it's just one of
Sometimes.
those
Just won't go. Will it?
Yeah.
deals, you know, and he ended up trading the guitar off, and it was such a great guitar.
Yeah.
It bothered him.
Well, you're sitting right on top of it. It can
You
get
ever
nasty.
know that?
What?
I had a pick guard go bad on a Birdland, and it was in the case. And like one day I opened the case, and I was just like, I needed a hazmat suit. It oxidized, and
Yeah.
it turned everything green on the guitar. It's like
Oh boy.
it not only smelled, but I think I got bronchitis or something like instantly.
Well,
Oh
you
my
know, but
God.
it kind of reminds you of like some of the girls from Woodstock or something like that. I don't know. You know,
They oxidize.
yeah, you know.
I guess we're all oxidized.
Oh, really? All right.
Leave that alone. I think you might be a bit of a dive.
Sorry, yeah,
I'm taking
Hold
the
on.
nice wrap.
Hold up, Norm.
yeah, sorry about that.
There's a mountain there.
All right. Okay, Nick Loves Guitars asks, what is the most horrifying modification you've seen on a vintage guitar?
Oh, I have that one.
Go on.
Oh my God, I'll never forget as long. It didn't help. I shouldn't say this. I have kids, but I was tripping on something. And my friend came over, said,
Shoelaces.
I have a 63 Strat, and you got to see what I did. So he brought the guitar over. This was a long time
What year
ago.
was this? Yeah.
This was in 1988 or 7.
Wow.
People were still,
People were doing stuff to
Doing-
Strats
yeah.
then. He put a Floyd Rose in a perfectly vintage, gorgeous Stratocaster.
I liked Floyd Roses back then, but I wouldn't have done that.
I did
No.
too, but it was like, he just,
Put it on your Kramer. Yeah.
and it's just the whole guitar was wrong. Everything about it was just
Oh.
wrong.
You know, I had one guy one time, I went out from a newspaper ad, you know, back in the day, and I went out to look at a 335. The guy told me it's in terrific shape, but he neglected to tell me that he pulled all the frets out and he completely fiberglassed the fingerboard on a 335. You know,
What does that mean, fiberglass? is big?
well, like a fretless bass.
Oh, really?
He just
Make it
kind of
fret.
made it
Oh,
smooth,
wow.
glassy, but there was no frets, nothing to grab onto. And I don't know if he could get all that crap off the fingerboard, but it was nice of him not to tell me after I drove all the way out there.
Oh, yeah, it's
a
fretless.
minor detail.
Didn't we look at a fretless guitar? That sounds very familiar.
don't know.
Like we went somewhere and
We used to
There
go-
was an era
yeah, it was
where
through-
they did
through the
they
recycler
did
and
guitars
buy
that
guitars
were
back in the
fretless
day.
after the 12th fret, right? So you have frets up to the octave, and then I forget what brand it was. You remember those? So
Yeah.
you could play fretless solos in your jazz combo.
Oh,
know.
really?
Oh,
Wow.
you know, one other one that comes to mind, there was the repairman in town back in the day when I first arrived was a guy named Milt Owen. Did you know Milt?
No.
Well, he was a guy, everybody brought their guitars to Milt. And
Brothers days or?
Milt could be
Brothers.
really good, you know, and Milt also drank a lot of Kirin beer. And so his work could go from really good to really strange. And he had a minty 58 Stratocaster that a guy asked him to cut the neck down and make it a tenor. And I'll never forget that. It was like the most beautiful Strat. It looked like it was unplayed. And he had cut the neck and made it so narrow that even for a tenor, it was too narrow. And it was really a shame.
Boy, that
Oh,
is
yeah.
tragic.
You know what? This is what I want to ask everybody because there's so many, you know, a bunch of great career guitar players here. Bold Dynamite wants to know what would be the best piece of advice you would give to someone who's just starting up?
My answer to that is always never say no. You know, say yes to every
Everything.
gig that you're offering. You know, never feel above anything. And get out there and be heard, right?
Yeah, that's good advice.
Paul?
I would say get some education on the theory side in addition to learning to play, because guitar players are just notorious for letting that go.
How you get a guitar player to stop?
Yeah.
Music in front of them.
I was very lucky. I started on trumpet. So,
Did you hear that? Say that again.
That's the whole joke. How do you make a guitar player stop playing?
put a chart in front of
Put a
it.
chart in front of them. Yeah. Hey.
So true.
Jay, what do you say?
Definitely listen to the Beatles. Like, I think that's probably a really good,
Blow by blow.
which was my first Guitar Hero record ever.
Right?
Which
We were
completely
on the
changed.
same.
Completely, I was
Yes.
How old
9,
are you?
and I got that.
Chord and spark.
No, we're like the same age. Yeah.
But when I listened, like Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow was like my first, literally I think my first album ever.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh my God, you could do that. And
It's
I had,
all there. It's
It's-
not
yeah.
unobtainium. You know, it's sort of the licks are actually
Yeah.
not impossible. I mean,
And
scatterbrain's hard.
so melodic and so much tone. But I totally agree with Val. It's like just like the more you play and playing with other musicians and what you said as well is like learn some theory and like it never hurts. Like I think the more chords you know, the better guitar player you are. That's like always been the way I see it because all scales and everything's around chords. So the more chords you know and the more positions you know, like there's always going to be. I find myself, you know, in a session, and there's like always a time where I'm like, oh God, I don't really know this chord. Like it always happens to me. I figure it out, but I keep trying to learn more inversions and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of endless.
Make friends with the keyboard player on the session. Immediately.
That's always good advice. Yeah.
So just in closing on this, because we try to keep these things brief, Val, what's the latest stuff that you've been doing? I know Jackson.
The latest stuff I've been doing, I've been playing with Jackson Brown for the last for a long time, like on and off for 20 years. And trying to, do my own music, write my own stuff, and really getting into that.
You've produced and played with some country artists and stuff too, right?
Well, I played with Shelby Lynn a bit. I actually worked with her a few months ago, a record with her and her sister, which was really a treat because I consider Shelby to be one of the greatest singers on the
She's
planet.
unreal.
Yeah, you can sing the phone book,
Yeah.
And you really got to be on your game when you play with her because she, when you're that good, you just do one pass and it's done. So,
Wow.
you find yourself being a little careful when you know it's going to be it. And she's not a real big fan of overdubs and stuff. And I've worked with Lucinda Williams too, who is kind of, I hold her up just as high. Maybe, as a songwriter, one
Yeah.
of the best in the biz.
Well,
Unbelievable.
doesn't
Yeah.
get much better than
Fantastic.
those two. My God, yeah.
Paul, you do a lot of jazz gigs and stuff. I know you play with a lot of jazz greats, and
I'm lucky. I have some really great friends who are willing to do that with me.
Jim Fox, for one. I
Yeah,
know
Jim
you guys
Fox. We have a trio thing next month at the Wine Rack in Ventura. And I play with Squash Grapes with a 7-piece jazz band.
Right.
are very cool. And Jason plays with one of my other favorite guitar players, Mike Campbell. And
The knobs.
the Dirty Knobs
Dirty
is really
Knobs.
great. And,
Okay.
but in your band, every time I go, there's always some other, really well-known players like Blondie, who plays with the Stones. And, you just never know who you might see sitting in with your band.
I just beg. I'm like, please come play with me.
But who else kind of sits in with your band? Because, I've seen all kinds of people.
God, Ivan Neville sometimes, and Blondie Chaplin, Bernard Fowler. There's been some really cool people who I've been lucky enough to play with.
And how about Mike Campbell?
Yeah, Mike is like a pretty good guitar player. I've heard of him.
Actually, he's like the greatest rock guitar player.
It's funny,
Yeah.
when I started teaching him, he was so slow. He really got a lot better.
It's coming along.
That band's been real. We've been doing some great gigs, doing some recording, and Mike is always, writing new songs, and so we learn like 8 new songs every time we play, which is
Awesome.
So it's very challenging, but that band's getting really good.
Fantastic.
I'm just very lucky to.
Great rhythm section. Lance.
They're so good. Lance and Matt are
Yeah.
such a
They're
great rhythm
awesome.
section, and everyone's really nice. There's no ego. It's just. We're there to serve Mike, basically. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you and Mike share kind of equal duty in that because you sing and,
He gives me a ton of solos and stuff, and
He's got you as his guitar player, and that is like the ultimate.
I feel
Compliment.
so
I
Hell of a compliment.
I feel so fortunate, but it's I have to learn some stuff that's like impossible to play. A lot of people don't know this about Mike, but he's technically one of the most proficient.
What about his
musicians
slide
ever.
playing?
It's crazy.
It's
good.
His beat bend you're
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
I
So,
couldn't
yeah,
believe
Mud Crush. The whole Mud
Kills
Crush
me.
thing with the
He's
beat
got
bend.
it.
was
He's
killer.
really.
Wow.
Did you guys,
For you to say
he's
that,
nice.
that's something.
did you play at Val's birthday? Was that
No, but
like years ago? Like,
I don't think so.
But yeah, other than that, everything's good. Can't
Well,
complain. I'm
just
happy.
want to say thank you. Of course, we got Mark and Nick, our
Talk about a
home
badass
great
guitar player.
This dude.
Yeah, have you heard this
Well,
guy?
I know
play
both
too?
of these guys.
but this guy, new
But
material
he's-
every day.
He picked up a guitar and he did like a
was
Travis picking
killing
thing
that-
with a guitar pointed up like this. And I was
Brad
like,
Paisley
what the
thing you were
hell?
playing the other day.
Well, whatever it was, it was involving more fingers than,
He has extra fingers now.
That's his trick.
That's his trick.
That
If you
other
look
arm comes
closely.
out from
Yeah.
It's like an Outer
It's all
Limits
smoke and
episode.
mirrors. It's all Jen's editing. It's all Jen's.
No, I always say Marcus cost me thousands of dollars because like,
Uh-huh.
I watch him play these guitars and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
All guitar players think they can do that. I can't do what he does, but then I buy the guitar.
Yeah,
You do
Norm
pretty
knows
damn
what
good.
he's doing. He's
Yeah.
got super pickers in here.
Well,
And,
I do what I can, and I just want to say thank you to you guys again, the McCallum brothers, Val,
Thank you.
Paul,
Thank you.
Jason Sinay, Mark, Nick.
Thanks, Norm.
And wait, can you guys like noodle a little bit or doodle a
Play
little bit or
Oh,
something that
noodle and doodle.
was sending us on our way?
Losing it.
That's an 8.
Stell, come and do a little tap dance. Come on.
Come on, Stella.
guys playing?
This is Birdland.
That would be a
Oh,
Birdland,
1980
that's a
Birdland.
1980 Birdland, this is a 59
Okay.
Gibson
This
Les
is-
Paul Special.
Beautiful.
It's a 59.
Does it have a
That's the
59
neck.
neck?
That's the neck.
It does.
Oh, you're
It's
in
very
trouble.
comfortable,
Yeah.
I know. I'm also in trouble because I'm really late for a date.
Guys, before we
Thanks a
cut,
lot,
I
fellas.
just want to say thank you to all you guys writing in the questions to Ask Norm. Please
Keep them coming.
keep writing and keep asking us questions, and someday we'll get to them all. But when I get guys like this in, I just like to incorporate them in that segment. And thank you again. I appreciate all you guys doing what you did. Val, I guess I didn't give you enough money today for you to play, but I mean, it's that's just the way it is. We're on a budget here, so.
Cool. Thanks, fellas.
Ask Norm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make noise.
All right.